Hey, and welcome to Fit Me Turo Fitness Podcast, a podcast for people who want to get no BS information about fitness and know that fitness is about so much more than losing scale weight. It's about feeling confident in your skin and empowered in your life. I'm your host, Turo Virta, personal trainer, strength and nutrition coach, and most of all, a husband of my beautiful wife, Miriam. Each week, my guests and me will give you some no BS fitness tips and motivate you to take action in your own personal fitness journey as we talk about nutrition, exercise, mindset, personal development, and executing in life with enjoyable but still effective strategies. If your goal is to look better, feel and be strong and experience transformation from inside out, you, my friend, are in the right place. Thank you for jumping in. And now let's jump into today's episode. Today's conversation is about something many people don't talk about honestly enough: drinking more than you planned. Not necessarily because you have a huge problem or you don't have discipline, but maybe because alcohol has become the way you switch off, the way you calm down after a long day, the way you reward yourself, the way you deal with the stress, overthinking, or emotional overload. And this is very similar to what I see with the food. Many people don't eat after dinner because they are truly hungry. They eat because they are tired, stressed, overwhelmed, or finally have a quiet moment. And alcohol can work the same way. That's why I'm excited for today's guest, Tansy Forrest. Tansy is a clinical hypnotherapist and the author of 10 Steps to Drink Less and Live Well. She helps high-functioning adults to drink less without labels, shame, or all or nothing thinking. In this episode, we talk about overdrinking, moderation, stress, evening habits, social pressure, and how to build more control without feeling deprived. So if you have ever told yourself, I'll just have one, and then it turned into more than you planned, this conversation is for you. So, Tansy, I'm so excited to have you in my show and learn from you. Could you shortly tell who you are, where you live, and a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. And a lovely introduction. That was really nice. Yeah, sure. So my name is Tansy Forrest and I am a clinical hypnotherapist, like you said. I live in Wimbledon with my 7-year-old son and my husband. And in my practice, I create meditations to help people on YouTube with alcohol and relaxation practices. And I also have written a book called 10 Steps to Drink Less and Live Well. So I'm very much, immersed in helping people move forward and create a positive future for themselves.
Nice. And by the way, your YouTube channel has amazing videos. I just looked, you have almost 200,000 followers there and a very, very powerful tool. So if you are interested to look Tansy's work, make sure at least to check her YouTube channel. That is an amazing source. But before we go to practical tools, could you share what led you to focus on helping people drink less?
Yeah, sure. So around my early 30s, I realized I had an issue with alcohol myself. So, like many people at university, you go out and party and have a good time. And most people start to kind of calm down after that period. But I didn't really calm down, and my drinking kind of escalated to the point where it was kind of affecting my health. Certain family members were saying to me, "You're drinking too much." And I just started to realize that it wasn't a healthy relationship. I think in part it was to do with the fact of a bereavement. So I lost my brother when I was
Mm.
28 and he was 24.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry.
and I didn't really deal with that grief. And I kind of didn't realize the effect that alcohol was having in kind of repressing that grief. Um, and so, but that was the kind of circumstances, you got back on and started working. And yeah, I should have, in hindsight, had more time to deal with that emotionally. So time went on and alcohol became my coping mechanism. But I'm quite a determined person and I realized I wanted to change. And so I found hypnotherapy in relation to cutting down on alcohol. And it was just life changing for me. It made me realize that I wasn't stuck in this situation. I could change, I could improve my life, I could take control of alcohol. And it helped me really kind of visualize the future that I wanted and raise my confidence because my confidence wasn't great. And as I'm sure people listening who might have an issue with alcohol, it really does affect your sense of self, your self-esteem. So the hypnotherapy really lifted my confidence. And I realized that if this could have such a positive, powerful impact on me, then I could help other people as well.
Mm.
Um, so that's when I decided to actually change careers because I was a teacher formerly. And I retrained completely as a therapist because I just knew that this is what I wanted to do. And yeah, I never really looked back after that. It's just such a pleasure and a privilege to help people in this area.
Wow, that's what a story. So interesting, and it's I guess that in life you never know, and I think that first of all I'm sorry about the loss of your brother, and I think that but ultimately what it led like I'm a big believer that something like everything happens in a life for a reason,
Mm,
and maybe that was for you or this passion. Now you have helped so many people,
mm,
and this is you at some point we don't maybe at the moment and there is a tough moments in life you don't understand why it's happening, but there is I believe that there is reason for everything, and looking back at some point you can turn those difficult moments also your strength, and for something greater, and that is I had a immediate feeling with you that you have turned like a worst nightmare into something what is like really helping others and giving you so much back. So I'm very, very proud of you. Obviously, like changing careers, having safe teacher job. I'm sure it wasn't easy to say that now this is I'm just stopping to do it and going to completely something different.
mm. Yeah, well, I think that for me, the kind of satisfaction I get from helping people is massive. And like particularly on my YouTube, when I'm writing the meditations for people, like the appreciation that I get
Mm,
is so nice, and it kind of keeps me going and keeps me motivated. And I feel a sense that people see who I am through that, that I want to help them and I want to be there for them through like lower moments because I know how it's felt. So,
uh,
it's kind of supporting people in difficult times is a real privilege. And
oh
also
yeah.
the other thing I like about YouTube is that it's free. So people can listen to, you know, higher
Mm-hmm.
quality material, but it doesn't matter if they've got a lot of money or less, they can still
Mm.
access good material, which is really important to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is, it's still like when you help people, that is the best. It's same thing for me. If it's not, maybe it's against all what business coach is and everything. Of course, we have bills to pay and something like that. But it's when you are able to give people something and giving that joy or helping them to change their life totally different, so much better. That is, I think, for every coach is the biggest thing what keeps them motivated. It's not about how much you earn or what kind of money. And usually, the best people who are helping the most, they don't even have to worry about how they make living themselves. It's the last thing what you need to worry.
Mm. Yeah, that's my feeling. Because sometimes when you work for yourself, you can be like, well, is this one going to work out? But I've just always had this feeling of everything's going to be fine. Just keep working on the next
Mm,
project. And
mm,
I just feel happy like every day that I found a job that I love. So, yeah, it's a great source of joy for me.
mm. So, what the what does like who are usually the people who you work with? So, because what like obviously they are drinkers, but what how does that over drinking look like in a real life?
Mm. So, my clients are from all over the world because they come through YouTube mainly. And uh, they are usually like high achieving professionals, men or women, who have noticed that their alcohol usage has crept up over time. So maybe they might have been a moderate drinker before, had a couple of glasses of wine, and now it's crept up a bit. And now they're kind of drinking about, maybe a bottle of wine a night, something like that. And they notice that it's affecting their health over time. So they might feel
Mm,
tired in the morning. They might notice that their weight has crept up.
mm,
Um, they might notice that their motivation is lower.
mm,
Their skin has changed and things like that. And so that's they tend to be the people that I work with, and they've tried things. So they've tried already. They've tried to count their units. They've tried to cut down a bit, and it hasn't worked. And so they feel a bit stuck. So everything else in their life might be looking really great on paper, but there's this
mm,
one thing where they feel like, I just don't know where to go with that. And then that's where I come in.
mm, mm. Because you talk so much about overthinking, overworking, and overdrinking. So, could you explain that loop in simple terms?
Yeah, so I think what happens for a lot of people is overworking. First of all, people are very driven, they're working really long hours. And it gets to the end of the day and their off switch becomes the alcohol.
Mm,
So it's kind of like their point to finish the day, decompress, and that becomes the thing that is their go-to.
mm,
But of course, and this also helps them, stop the overthinking. It shuts off their mind for a while. But the problem is, alcohol, it gives us something, but it also takes a lot as well. So they
mm,
might find that they're waking up in the middle of the night, they're not sleeping properly, and they're waking up feeling kind of rusty in the morning. But then, you know, they get pulled into that trap because then they're anxious from being in a bit of a low level hangover state. And so then the alcohol comes in and, they have a drink and then they start to feel better again. So it's
mm,
kind of giving and taking, but taking so much more.
mm. So, what is, in your opinion, is coming first? Because there is that loop usually, but what is usually first? Is it stress, habit, or the drink?
I think it's the stress because I notice when people do less, relax more, have a more peaceful lifestyle, really kind of up the self-care, then the alcohol lowers itself naturally, But in one of my chapters, I talk about self-care and living a balanced life. Some people, if they're going 90 miles an hour, you know, they're going to need something to slow them down. But if
Mm-hmm.
you think about it, if you change your lifestyle and if you live a more nourishing lifestyle, you're not going to want to escape from it in the same way.
Mm-hmm. So, uh, why you think then that so many high functioning people drink more than they want, even if when their life looks good from outside?
Well, I mean, some people might have issues that are unresolved. I mean, like for myself, there was a grief issue there.
Mm-hmm.
Other people may have gone through stressful life events, have a lot of people work with those who have gone through divorce, for example,
Mm-hmm.
or bereavement, and they're using alcohol as a way to cope
Mm-hmm.
with that. And yeah, it's just over time it gets a bit out of control sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is it's like my dad used to he passed away now a couple of years ago, but he was exactly like that kind of person. He was from outside everything looked good. He was and he obviously never committed that he had a problem. But when I think my childhood, it was always like every evening he had his couple drinks.
Mm,
Maybe was a little bit rusty in the morning, but maybe it was a little bit more on the weekends, but never like, but it was daily habit. And obviously he never committed that. He said that he can be without, he have no issue. And then he did like a dry Januaries and but it was daily. It was daily, and sometimes more, sometimes less. But that is just a loop where you what is it's so easy to get into it,
mm,
and it's also those evenings are for many people so hard. Like in my coaching, like they are for eating habits. Like obviously some of my clients use also alcohol, but what uh do you see the same way in with your work with the evenings that people
mm.
are struggling with the evenings or
Yeah, I think definitely cravings for alcohol come in, generally speaking, around the evening because, it's a habit, end of the day, wanting to relax. And I think there's so many overlaps with food as well. You know, wanting to unwind by eating something to treat yourself. And I think, yeah, it's one and the same thing. And some people go for food, some people go for alcohol, some people go for both.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
So why you think that this is happening, that that alcohol become such an easy way to off switch at the end of the day?
Because it's available and it's been marketed to us over many years as
Mm,
something to, help us relax. If you watch TV programs, as soon as someone's a bit stressed in a TV program, they'll go and have a glass of wine. It's something that we see a lot and it's freely available. So people kind of get into the habit of using it and the brain wants something easy. So it thinks, right, I feel a bit stressed today. What worked yesterday? Ah, right, it was the gin and tonic. And then, you know, but if we don't pause and think about it, then we can easily kind of be pulled into those habits of before. So I always say to clients often, you know, play it forward. This is one of my techniques is play it forward. Think about how you're going to feel the next day if you
mhm,
drink that drink. you're not just what do you want in the moment. And I think that's probably, is that the same with food? It's
Hmm.
like play it forward, how you're going to
Yeah.
feel. If you reach for the chocolate bars in the middle of the night, I know it
Yeah.
didn't make me feel any better.
Yeah. No, it's that is exactly the same way with the food, like, and but it's still so hard thing to do, but to learn to think in the long term and think that how does this thing what I'm going to either eat or drink is going to make me feel in, let's say, in 12 hours from now or in 24 hours? Is it going to make
Mm,
me feel better? Or, and obviously you can longer, you are able to put that time frame that is it going to help solve all problems in, let's say, in next year if I keep doing it. At the moment, it's the solution is always in that short term, it's either that food, it suppress your unwanted feelings, but in the long term, it's going to actually make things even worse and not better. And that, but still, it's very hard thing to do.
mm.
But what do you think is people? What are they looking when they pour that glass of wine or open that drink at the night?
Well, I think a lot of people are looking for an escape. They're looking to change their feelings, change their mood.
Mm,
And I think alcohol can do that. It can change your mood.
mm,
But what happens is, like a pendulum, it swings one way, but then it'll swing back the other way. So, for example, if we've had a bad day, the boss has been annoying us, we think, right, get home, have some drinks. Um, the next day you wake up, you still got to go to work, you still got to deal with the boss, but
mm,
you're not in the same mindset in a sense
mm,
that you're feeling worse. So not only have you drunk, but the problem is still there, and you haven't allowed your feelings to be processed
mm,
naturally.
mm. That's very true. Uh, why you think? Because you talk a lot about willpower and moderation, and I'm curious to know what you think that why doesn't willpower work very well with alcohol?
Well, I tend to think that the best results from moderation are come through planning, and putting ourselves in a position where we are best catered for. And actually, thinking about it, it's the same with food. If you think
Hmm.
about someone who's going to be eating well, planning is essential, making you sure
Hmm.
you've got the right food in the house, that you don't go too long between meals, etc. The same as with alcohol. You know, um, there's lots of tips and tricks that people can use. So, um, for example, having smaller portions of alcohol, having a half bottle of wine in the fridge, for example, rather than a whole bottle, really helps a lot of people.
Hmm.
Drinking from a smaller glass, starting later, eating, is the full stop to alcohol consumption. And, that helps people quite a bit as well, because I think if we drink on an empty stomach, we're more likely to drink, more than we plan to. So
Hmm.
there's lots of kind of planning that we can do
Hmm.
to actually meet our goals.
Hmm. And you also say, like you mentioned a little bit, that moderation is a skill. What does that actually mean for you?
So when I was wanting to get better myself with alcohol, um, I read all the books on this. Okay, so all the books around the world on all these, like, basically behavior change techniques.
Hmm.
And I learned a lot about the fact that you can actually learn to cut down by using different strategies, essentially, to help you.
Hmm.
Um, so that can be learned, and it's basically like having a toolkit of things that works for you. And this is what I work with on my clients. So often if they're planning a week, so they're going to be going out with friends, we might say, okay, so how are you going to cope with that situation? And they might have a plan, right? Well, I'm going to drink this amount of drinks. This is what I'm going to drink. I'm going to arrive at this time. I'm going to plan when I'm going to come home. The next day, I'm going to do an exercise class or something like that. So they've got something booked in for the next day.
Mhm.
And when they have a plan, they are much more likely to be successful. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's about building a kind of toolkit of things that work for them.
Mhm. Yeah, it sounds the strategies actually are pretty much same with everything. Everything like obviously cut down bad habits, but also to build better habits, like with the food or exercise. It's uh, all about planning, probably avoiding extremes. Like, because for many people, like I mentioned with my dad, he did always that dry January. And why do you think that things like dry January it help some people, but they are not teaching any long-term moderation?
Yeah, that's right. I always say that abstinence doesn't help you learn a moderation skill set. So often when people do dry January, they think that although it's great to have like a month off, and I recommend it
Mhm.
definitely, but it's not going to help you kind of learn skills. You only learn skills when you're actually doing the thing and putting things into practice.
Mhm. Yeah, it's same kind of thing. Like with if you think dieting, it's the same pattern. Like obviously, it's about willpower, discipline. If you have it, you can keep dry January. You can follow any very restrictive diet for a short period of time, but often it's you are counting days that okay, I will do this. Is it in alcohol? It's until end of January. With some diet, it's until that you reach either you reach your goal weight or you have some 60-day challenge. But
Mm.
it's often it's not going. And then what I see that people are always think that, oh, this, then I will, because my question always is that what you going to do after? Like in my dad's case with the alcohol, he was waiting that it was February 1st so he could have a drink again. Sometimes he wasn't drinking. He was said that, oh, he's making now extra week or two. But then at some point, it's not, the question is not that is it going to last forever, but it was only a matter of time before he went back into those old habits. And it's I see the same pattern with the dieting that you might be able to lose weight and then you think that you blame yourself kind of that you are not able to do it for longer, or you might think that, oh, now I started well, I did months some extreme diet. But this is kind of what that at least with the dieting industry wants. They want you to keep you on diet and showing like some amazing before after pictures, but there is never, like, very few marketers. Obviously, it's not very sexy in social media to say that, oh, you are not going to see as fast progress as you would see with some other procedure or going faster in the beginning. And but what I love to say is that you have to think 1 year from now or 2 years, 5 years from now. And if you think that you are in a better place in 1 year from now, if you are every year keeping dry January because you have to, you need it, or if you have to start new diet every single January or every other month, probably that solution is not going to help you. It just makes you feel worse in the long term because you succeed, you fail, and it's never going to be a long-term solution.
Mm, absolutely.
So, uh, what kind of mistakes you see people are doing when they try to cut back alcohol?
Well, I think sometimes people, a bit like you say, they want to see change very quickly. And it doesn't work like that. They have to give it time. And also, they have to want to change as well. So, some people will sit in the chair and they'll want to change, but they won't change. So, they're wanting to be better, they're wanting to be well, but they're not prepared to change. They're not prepared to put in the work for whatever reason. So, you know, that can be challenging as well. But most people that come to me, they are ready. They're here because they do want to make a change and, they see some amazing results. I mean, I'll give you an example. I've got a chap in America and he was drinking kind of 12 drinks a night, something like that.
Mhm.
And he'd been doing this for years and years. And then he'd noticed that he'd had health problems, and we started working together. And he, over a long period of time, cut down what he was drinking, cut it down very gradually, tapered it down and down until he got to zero,
Mm.
and did that safely. It felt so much better. And then now he's gently introduced drinking, and he just drinks like if he has a drink, he just have two drinks now. And he doesn't get it right all the time, but from
Mm.
where he's been to where he is now is incredible. And
Amazing.
he looks very different. He's lost loads of weight. He just looks happy, and he says that he's just so much more in control of his life. But he also
Great.
committed to it long term as well. So he wasn't expecting to see things overnight.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is something like often people think that this is just some problem you want to solve and you want to solve it right away, that it disappears from one day to another. And obviously that is not the case in most cases. So you use hypnotherapy a lot in your work. And for someone who has never tried it, how does it help?
Mm. So hypnotherapy is feels very natural and relaxing. So it feels like meditation, basically. A lot of people think that it's about mind control or, kind of something, with ill intent. And that comes from movies, the way that hypnosis is portrayed. So it gets a bit of a bad rap, but actually it can be incredibly helpful. And the reason it's very good is it gets you to imagine a different future. So I'm a future focused therapist and I help clients to envisage how they're going to be in the future. And actually,
Mm.
it works really well for weight loss as well because you can envisage how you're going to feel. And, so for those of you listening, there's lots of weight loss tracks I've got on YouTube to help
Mm.
people envisage their healthy future. And the same is true for alcohol. So, how are you going to feel when you cut down? How are you going to, feel in your body, feel in your mind? And so therefore people start borrowing these images, borrow that happiness from the future, and it gets them into a much more positive mind frame. And then we put lots of suggestions in there about how they're going to get there. And so as they listen to my voice, they go down into this kind of very relaxed state where we can communicate with the subconscious. And so this is where the mind doesn't put up any blocks. The mind is receptive to suggestions. And then that's where the magic happens because we can implant these positive suggestions. So clients start to feel a sense of, I can do this. This is possible for me. Um, and it just really elevates their mood. And yeah, they just kind of come away from that feeling just in a really positive mindset.
Mm. Is it more about changing thoughts, calming the nervous system, or interrupting those automatic patterns?
I think it's all of those things. Yeah, it's all of it. It's about creating space between, kind of a thought and an impulse, creating that power to choose. Um, it's about, uh, you know, motivation. It's about changing habits. Yeah, and also, like you said, it's about settling the nervous system and calming, calming people down to the point where they feel they can think clearly about their life. And it's a focused state of attention, where they can think specifically about this one topic without any, noise from
Mm.
anywhere else.
Yeah. So how can someone start calming themselves down without needing alcohol?
Mm. Um, well, breathing techniques are really helpful.
Mm.
So, simple breathing techniques to calm the nervous system down um, can be really, really helpful. So, that's kind of having a longer out breath than in breath and counting. You can get apps to do that. That can be really helpful to help with cravings. Um, Meditation, hypnotherapy, um, doing less in the day, kind of creating more nurturing spaces within the day rather than just being full pelt busyness the whole time. I
Mm.
think that really helps. You can design your day as you want it. Um, and other people find massage is good, although we can't do that all the time. Something like having a lovely long hot bath at the end of the day or a shower, um, going for a walk after work, being in nature. There's many, many things we can think of before we need to look to alcohol. We just need to give the brain something else to latch onto to feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, I personally, I think that going outside for a walk, having, if you are able to see sunlight, that is such a huge game changer for like many people. I just see the difference. As I told you earlier, I'm originally from Finland and now living in Italy, and what impact the weather has. It's just great. Like it just makes such a big difference on how you feel if you are able to like. Obviously, I understand if you live in like you live in UK and or someone who is living somewhere where is a lot of rain. It's impossible to see. You have probably months that you don't see sunlight, but if you still get even fresh air, get some outside walk in, even if it's with an umbrella or something, it makes such a big difference. What is kind of, especially nowadays when most of the people are staying inside and not going anymore for nature. That is, in my opinion, it's one of the, if not the biggest thing to help someone. So then I wanted to talk a little bit about social pressure, as that is always part of with the alcohol and was if how you think someone can drink less without feeling boring or difficult or left out from some bigger events.
Well, I think it takes some getting used to because a lot of people that I work with, and certainly myself, um, you know, we're used to kind of turning up to any event and accepting a drink. Yep, I'll have a drink, have a drink. So you don't actually go to social occasions without drinking. So you
Hmm.
can't imagine it. However, when you are moderating and cutting down, there's going to be a lot of times when you go and you're not going to drink. And that takes practice. But when you do that, often people find, actually, I had a better time when I didn't drink. You know, that
Mm,
that first 5 minutes when you arrive somewhere and you think, oh, you know, I'm going to have a drink. You know, someone's offering me a drink and I feel nervous because we all feel nervous sometimes when we get to an event we don't know anyone. If you can just ride through that first period and
mm,
just, you know, have something to eat, get chatting to someone, then, you know, you can get through that and have a soft drink, then you know, you'll be fine. And then once you have one event and you think, all right, you know, I did that and I felt much better, you have that as a positive reference point. And often people find also they have like more, you know, nicer connections with people. They turn up and they're a better version of
mm,
themselves. And once you start collecting those references, then you can kind of, that will supercharge your kind of journey to help you feel good and to do more and more of it.
mm. What is then something like, cause you know, when you are in social event and when some friends or family members are asking you that do you want to drink, or if they are asking you that why aren't you drinking, what could you say in those moments?
Well, I think it depends where you're at your journey. I mean, really, I think you just need to go with something that you feel comfortable with.
Mm,
So, you know, it might be that you just sort of say, I'm focusing on my health at the moment.
mm,
You might say something like, you know, I'm just taking a break. You might say, you know, well, whatever really feels comfortable, just practice it before the event so that you feel comfortable saying it. Um, and really, other people's reactions say more about them than they do about you. So it
mm,
often, you know, some people will want you to drink because they want a drinking buddy. Um,
mm,
you know, but you've just got to stay true to yourself and remember why you are doing this for you.
mm. Yeah.
Um, and actually, most of the time, people are much more interested in what they're doing than other people. So, you know, you don't need to overthink it.
Yeah, because I feel like now my wife is pregnant and we are expecting our first son to born in 1 month, and it's like when we go to social event and she is showing up with belly and saying that, you know, she's not drinking because she's pregnant. Nobody questions it. And
Mm,
I with some clients of mine, I don't know what you think, but we have been using like, because obviously we have been talking about these different kind of strategies, and what I found out the best strategies for this, like I remember one of my clients, she said that she's obviously she was a little bit older woman, so using that pregnancy card didn't work, or it wouldn't be anymore possible. But but she said that she's having antibiotics or medication that she can
mm,
drink, and then it's like people are not questioning anymore. Oh, really sorry to hear, or then people are understanding. Or if you like, usually often also what people are really, like you mentioned, having focusing on health, but if you what we have used a lot is that, you know, you are doing some, it could be dry January or 30-day challenge without alcohol. And usually
mm,
often that kind of challenges people are accepting. Oh, nice, you are doing it. Cool. Tell me more about it. And they are not questioning it anymore. If you are someone who have been always drinking and then you say that, you know, you drink alcohol-free beer or some alcohol-free cocktail, and you say, what is wrong with you? You are so boring, or whatever comments you might get. But if you have a kind of answer in a place, what you are going to use, that what is the reason you are not, because people are going to ask. That is, like you said, it's planning ahead, preparing yourself for those situations. I think that is very, very helpful.
mm. Yeah.
So, uh, then what you, because obviously if someone is trying to quit alcohol, there is going to happen for most people is it's not going like planned, and you will drink at some point more than you planned. So, what should someone do after a night where they drank more than they planned?
Mm. Well, this is a big part of my work actually, because, you know, little slips, lapses, we say a lapse is not a collapse in this situation. It's normal, nobody's perfect. It's a bit like if you're on kind of a nutrition plan and you have a night where you kind of splurge and
Mm,
eat more than you plan to, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You think, right, well, why did this happen?
mm,
What was it? What were the circumstances that led to this over drinking episode? And more importantly, what can I do differently next time? And these situations often throw up a lot of interesting data.
mhm,
So, you might be often people hit a really stressful patch at work, and it's a way that they kind of, switch off from work, and it's a pattern. You
mm,
know, I used to do that. I'd have like some really important deadlines or whatever, and then at the end, I just kind of blow off some steam by just drinking too much. And I
mm,
realized that that was an unhealthy pattern. Um, so I think that, you know, when we take the learning from the experience, it will make us stronger. So lapses aren't in themselves a bad thing, although they feel bad at the time. They are actually a normal part of the behavior change process.
mhm. So why is it so important to not to turn one heavy night into shame? Because it's often, we feel guilt, we will feel shame when it happened, but why is it so important to not turn into that mode?
Yeah, so this is something that I work with on clients, and this is a chapter in my book as well. Um, on lapses is that they can happen, but then what we have to do is just draw a line under it, because we don't want a lapse to turn into a relapse, which is a return to old behaviors.
Mm,
So it's important that if we have kind of a toolkit of things that work for us, so we go into kind of self-care mode after that point. So looking after ourselves, hydrating a lot, eating really well, just relaxing and kind of treating ourselves very well to kind of get over this period. And also looking at why it happened, like I said, drawing a line under it. And
mm,
then I think what I found very helpful personally is taking a break from alcohol then, in moderation management, which is a large organization that deals with this as well. They call it taking a 30, and
mm,
that's like a break to, get your wits about you, work out why it happened, dust yourself off, and kind of then come back stronger when you're feeling better.
mm.
So yeah.
So if someone who is listening now and want to drink less this week, what are three simple steps they could try now?
Yeah, so I think the first one would be to write down their why. So, why is it really important for them to cut down? To put down their motivation, their compelling reasons for cutting down. Then the second thing to do would be to begin to um, chart how much they're drinking.
Mm,
Um, so they're getting more of an awareness. And when we get an awareness of how much we're drinking, that's when we can that in and of itself will cut down. So having some kind of awareness of what they're drinking, and monitoring it. And then the
mm,
third thing would be to listen to a hypnotherapy recording as well, because there's lots
mm,
online on YouTube, And they're all set up for this, for transforming people's lives and feeling much better.
Wow, those are very, very good tools and steps you could take right now. So, how can people plan their drinking before the evening starts? Like we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I want to give now in the end so some practical tools. So,
Mm. Okay, so I think have a plan. So, for example, if you normally drink at 6, drink till, don't start until 7. Set up your night to support the changes you want to create. Um, Plan what you're going to eat. Make sure you're hydrated as well. This is a big one. So
mhm,
make sure you've had plenty of water, and have a snack when you start to have a drink as well, so that the alcohol doesn't hit your stomach too quickly. Um, just only buy what you plan to drink. So, like I said before, small bottles of wine, you know, 2 tiny bottles could be perfect rather than having that large bottle in the fridge.
mhm,
Um, and then when that is over, then switch to something else. Decide in your mind when is the full stop to drinking so that it doesn't go on in the evening. Because moderate drinkers, they drink for a short period of time, because really you're not going to be drinking for hours and hours. It's going to be,
mhm,
a few number of drinks are the most enjoyable as well.
mhm. And what are then some better ways to switch off after a long day?
Um, I think going for a walk outside in nature, um, doing some exercise, meditation, um, being with family and friends, having some time to do something enjoyable for you, just so that you have a break, so that there's a buffer there. So it's not like from one stressful situation to home,
Mhm,
put in some breaks there for you and really look after you.
mhm, mhm. And how does then a realistic alcohol-free day look like for someone who usually drinks most evenings?
Well, when people are incorporating alcohol-free days, I always say, again, have a plan of something nice to do.
Mm,
So maybe go to the cinema or, have a massage or plan a nice dinner. Just it's all about the planning and, again, listen to a hypnotherapy recording about alcohol-free days so that you can be reminded why you're doing this and also play it forward. Think about how amazing you're going to feel the next day.
oh yeah, this is, by the way, for me, this is very similar to emotional eating. So, as many people think they need more discipline, but often they need to understand what the behavior is doing for them, and for if it's food, alcohol, scrolling, even skipping workouts. Often those things are not just random; they are ways to manage stress, tiredness, or discomfort. So, before we close this episode, I have a couple questions for you. So, what is one thing you wish everyone understood about drinking less?
That it's absolutely possible, for people to cut down and feel so much better. They shouldn't feel alone. There's nothing to feel ashamed about. There's lots of people in this situation that drink a bit more and they want to cut down, and they absolutely can. They should feel excited about the opportunity to improve their lives, and know that I'm here, I've done it, I've changed my life, and so many other thousands of people have that I've worked with. So if they want to invest in themselves, then, the skills and the expertise are there to support them.
Hmm. So, where can people learn more about you, your book, and your work? What are the best places to find you?
So, my book, 10 Steps to Drink Less and Live Well, is on Amazon. Also, I've got a course coming out as well in the next couple of months for people that want to learn about it in a different way. And I've got a YouTube, which is just Tansy Forrest. And then tansyforrest.com is my website as well.
Awesome. I will put all those links also into show notes so you can check them from my show notes. And thank you so much, Tansy. I really, really loved this conversation and definitely learned a lot from you. So thank you so much for taking your valuable time coming to my show.
Thank you. It's been great.
Hold up, friend. Do you love Fit Me Turo Fitness podcast? If so, the best way to say thank you is to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on iTunes. I know every podcaster wants you to leave a review, but it's because those reviews help the podcast to reach more people. I truly want to know what you think and if this particular episode resonated with you. Would you also please share it? Either send a link to someone who you think will find it valuable or take a screenshot and post it into your social media and tell your friends and family why they should listen it. Make sure you tag me so I can hear your feedback and give you a little love. And if you aren't already following me on Instagram or TikTok, that's the perfect time to hit that follow button. Thank you for being here and listening to Fit Me Turo Fitness podcast.